Welcome back, everybody. It feels good to be back talking ball with you guys. Today, though, I am doing something a little bit different. It's not going to be as long of a video. This isn't a buy sell video. This isn't a free agent video, but we're moving our focus back to the 2026 rookie class. I'm being honest, it's been a little bit frustrating seeing all the people, in videos trashing this class, saying you need to sell the picks now, get cash out on the picks, whatever it may be. I want to meet those people halfway though, because they really do. They do have some good points. I won't lie to them. This is not the 2024 class where we had, Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr., Roma Dunze, Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, Drake May. They all inside the top 10. And then you had like Bo Nix. Michael Penix was a surprise when the Falcons took him. Brock Bowers, of course, went I think in the top 13 as well. This isn't last year's class either, which is probably going to be one of the better running back classes we have seen in a very long time. Because I think we're going to look back in a couple years and look Genty, Marion Hampton, Judkins, Travion Henderson, RJ Harvey, Scatterbo, just to name a few. I mean, it was a stacked class. This class isn't that. But I feel like we hit this endless cycle every year where, we come out saying this class isn't very good and next year's will be so much better, or it's going to be generational. We got, Jeremiah Smith coming out next year. My point is, I'm not so sure this class is nearly as bad as people are making it out to be. I actually think it's quite good. And I do not think you should be going out and shopping picks just for the fun of it. Panicking on these picks at all, trying to get out from underneath it. If you have a late first, because there's a lot of talk about, that top 5 or 6 picks and how valuable they are. And, just we kind of don't know about the rest. Unless it's a deal that's a smash accept. Best advice I can give you is just wait. Wait. Most people out there are not interested in offering you anything fair for these 2026 picks. There's a lot of low balls out there. Trust me. In my leagues, I get a lot of that right now, especially with all the videos on how bad the class is, how much people are down on it. Nobody's going to be really interested in offering you anything fair, especially early on in the offseason. To be fair, I don't want anyone to think that I'm trashing anyone who talks down on this class, who's lower on it, because I tend to agree with them a lot. This class is not amazing, but I feel like a lot of people, maybe newer dynasty players, maybe in their first or second year, are getting a little bit of the wrong idea based on this sentiment. If you are an owner of multiple or just one draft pick in any rookie draft, it doesn't matter how good, how bad the class is. The most important thing to know is that these picks will always go up in value. Rookie picks will always accrue in value as the offseason goes along. And I might not be the best person to deliver this message, but, because I'm not a big stock market guy, I don't dabble into stocks in general, but think of picks as like stock assets. For those of you who traded for picks during the 2025 season, and, even if you're buying them now, you are getting them at an all-time low price. As the offseason goes along, as we get to the combine, and then we start to hear more and more buzz about where these prospects will be taken. And then once we get to the NFL draft, this is where you start to see a massive rise. I mean, I'm sure you have done the same thing. You hear whispers of a class not being great, but then once you get closer to the NFL draft, once you get closer to the rookie draft, once you get closer to, that pick actually being on the clock, or maybe trying to go grab a guy you want to get, you want to be on the clock or get a certain prospect on your dynasty roster. Maybe your favorite team picks Mekhi Lemon in the first round, or a hyped rookie running back early in the second round. This happens to almost everybody, and the leverage you can gain in times like this is so incredibly important. I cannot stress that enough. Think about a trade that someone may have sent you recently for a rookie pick, and let's assume that they sent you something that was fair in value at the moment. I know there's not a lot of that out there right now, but let's assume that someone sent you something fair. That exact same trade will almost 100% be available to you come end of April, May, once the NFL draft starts, ends, and you are on the clock in the rookie draft. And the best part about all this is, yes, the same trade will be available to you, but this time it will have risen in value quite a bit, most likely, and you can likely attach another player to fill in at running back, tight end, wide receiver. Maybe you get some depth, maybe get a flex player, maybe add a second on top for next year's draft, maybe get another second in this year's class, maybe a couple thirds on top of that, or just in general to move back and add to your war chest later. It might actually surprise you the difference a couple of months can make and how excited people will get. I mean, I really would stress to you guys to just wait. And because a lot of people, when it comes down to it, they will overpay, especially when you are on the clock and they want that pick or player. You quite literally hold all the leverage. Any player or asset they are trying to send your way is likely going to not move a ton in value. If anything, their asset will lose value as things happen in the offseason. There are no games being played. Free agency is coming up, so that may move a player's value more than anything. And maybe even the fear of the running back they're trading you, they're having competition coming in from the NFL draft, or the wide receiver they're trying to give you, possibly getting more competition coming in and taking targets away from them. We see teams every year take players at positions that we never thought they were in consideration at all. I mean, it happens every single year. Like, for example, I think most people were pretty much in shock when Emeka Egbuka was taken in the first by the Buccaneers. They had just given Chris Godwin a contract where he's getting paid like 20 plus million per year over 3 years. Mike Evans was still there. Jalen McMillan was coming off a super, super solid rookie year, a super hot back end of his rookie year. Once that pick was made, Godwin and Evans, their value and perception kind of sort of dipped in a way. Godwin's coming off a broken ankle and Mike Evans was getting older. So how did that, regime feel about them and where they were going to be heading moving forward? And Jalen McMillan's value was completely gone. I mean, he's one of the bigger buys of the offseason and a guy people are pretty excited about going into year two, especially considering hoping that the Buccaneers didn't take a guy in the first, second, third round. They ended up taking him in the first, and his value completely plummeted. How about Luther Burden? Did anyone expect the Bears to take him in the early second round after taking Rome Odunze in the top 10 the year before and taking Colson Loveland in the same draft, 10th overall, just a round before him? I bet probably not. And if you held DJ Moore or traded him for him before the draft, you took that risk. Honestly, that didn't even seem like a risk going into it. I was shocked. That asset plummeted in value. Just think about that situation now. Not good. Especially going into 2026, we don't even know if DJ Moore is going to be on the team. We don't know if he's going to play for a team. If he stays on the Bears, that's probably worst case scenario because Luther Burden, he was obviously the replacement. And even though it took a year, he has pretty much phased DJ Moore out as we saw from the end of the year and into the playoffs. We can even go back to 2024. And I know this one may not be as well known, but when the Raiders took Brock Bowers 13th overall, this was a shock to a lot of people. It was a shock to me because obviously, now it looks like the correct pick. But does anyone remember Michael Mayer? He had just been taken the year before, 35th overall. And that is significant draft capital to spend on a player. And he was widely considered in that draft to be the tight end one coming out. He was a top 8 to 10 tight end in Dynasty all the way up until the Raiders selected Bowers on draft night. After that, poof, he became pretty much a dead asset. Obviously, Brock Bowers, nobody was going to take playing time away from him. He's an absolute stud. He broke a lot of records in his rookie year. And also, let's not forget about another scenario. The Rams, pretty much, it feels like every year, take a running back in the second and third round. The Rams in 2023, I believe, took Blake Corum in the third. And last year, a lot of, an underrated prospect, they took Jarquez Hunter in the fourth in back-to-back drafts. Twice, Kyron Williams has seen his stock take a hit because the Rams took a running back on day 2 or early day 3 that scared people off. Obviously, that situation has worked out for Kyron, and people are probably a little bit more down than they should bet on him, but players' value can change, and maybe more importantly, people's perception of them does when they start to get more information as the offseason goes. The NFL draft, free agency, as we start to hear whispers going into, the start of rookie camp, start of training camp. Those windows open up, and they are wonderful for guys who own rookie picks because you hold all that leverage. Let's just throw some scenarios out there similar to the ones that I just named. A lot of the early mocks have teams like the Giants, Commanders, Saints, Jets taking a shot on a first-round wide receiver. And while I don't think the high-value wide receivers on these teams can take, that much of a crazy hit, sometimes they change, a little less or a little more than we might think. But for the most part, these stud wide receivers are going to stay put a lot of the time. But what if a team does add a wide receiver inside the top 10? Let's just say one of these teams takes Carnell Tate, Jordan Tyson, Mekhi Lemon, Denzel Boston, Casey Concepcion, and add a weapon to that room. How does this affect people's value, maybe even yours, of someone like Garrett Wilson, for instance? He kind of took a backseat to Devontae Adams when he was there in 2024. And will people be scared off if he doesn't see the volume that he has in the past when he was the only option in New York? Like, does he get pushed so much? Like, because he's relied so much on volume. We already know that quarterback situation is really shaky. We don't even know who's going to play quarterback in New York in 2026. Does that hurt Garrett Wilson's, we've only seen him really have like one really, really solid year. And does that affect him if they bring in another big weapon? How much target share does that take away from him? How much, does that take away from people's perception of him as a high value asset? What about Chris Olave? He just had his true breakout season last season, but will added competition hurt his ceiling in this offense? Will added competition put a dent in his volume? He's got some nice chemistry with Tyler Shuck. We all know that. But what does Tyler Shuck look like going into year 2? Do defenses, adjust? And does the wide receiver room, along with Tyler Shuck's maybe regression, hurt his ceiling, hurt maybe even his floor in fantasy football? What about if the Washington Commanders add one? And how does that affect Terry McLaurin? I know he's not on the same level as the previous two guys in terms of like dynasty value in general, but people still expect him to be the wide receiver 1 for the Commanders going into 2026. And what does that look like now if they add a wide receiver to that room? I know I mentioned the New York Giants as well. Malik Neighbors is a stud. We know that. We know he did it in his rookie year, but he's coming off a torn ACL. He had some complications that actually extended his recovery timeline, so we don't exactly know if he's going to be ready for the starting training camp. We hope he's going to be ready for week 1, but you just never know. And will another added weapon on top of those concerns hurt his value in Dynasty and just overall in fantasy football? I haven't even mentioned some teams that could surprise a lot of people if they take a wide receiver. Like, What about the Eagles? The A.J. Brown situation always looms, and he could be going into his last year with the team. So, what does that kind of look like? How does it affect A.J. Brown? How does it affect Devontae Smith? What about the Rams? This is a good sleeper. Devontae Adams is getting up there. And if they took a round one receiver, like, how does that hurt his value in 2026? Because we know he had a great year, but we know he's getting older. We know that he was a little bit banged up in 2025. And just kind of what does his outlook look like with, if they add a guy like Mekhi Lemon in the first round? It has been pretty out there that this running back class isn't great. We have all heard that, but this still doesn't stop teams every year from adding a guy to that room. So do the Bengals take one on day 2 finally? And what does that do to Chase Brown's value and his perception in Dynasty? Do the Bears finally pull the trigger this year? We all know that they wanted Travion Henderson last year. They wanted Quinshon Judkins. They missed out on both of them. This would definitely hurt DeAndre Swift's value and kill the rise that Kyle Monangai has been on throughout the offseason, especially having a really, really solid end of his rookie season. Do the Seahawks pay Kenneth Walker, do it again, draft another running back on day 2? We already know Charbonnet went down. That's exactly what they did with Charbonnet when they took him on day 2 just after Kenneth Walker's breakout rookie season. Is Sean Payton obsessed with having multiple running backs, and will he take another one to pair with RJ Harvey? You just never know. And with all these moving parts, it opens up windows and opportunities for you to make bets on players that may dip in value, buy competing assets at an all-time low, or at the very least give you more certainty on what players you want to, add with these picks and what players you maybe want to trade for these picks. If you want to make the draft pick, or if you want to trade the pick away for future picks, this is why holding them can be so important and so valuable. They give you leverage and safety that no other asset can, except for maybe the higher top tier upper echelon of players who, are pretty much untouchable in a lot of trades. So my challenge to you, if you hold any 2026 picks, I don't care if it's just 1 second, I don't care if it's 1 first, I don't care if it's half the draft. I want you to challenge yourself. Maybe if you are in more than one league, this can be a good type of experiment. Hold the picks till we at least get to around the NFL draft or you're on the clock. I'm not saying don't listen to offers though. Please continue to do that. Converse real league mates. Continue to be active. And if an offer comes in that is too good to turn down, pull the trigger. I will always encourage that. But if one comes in that you think is fair, ponder on it, and then maybe politely reply and say that you'll give it some thought and wait a while. Revisit this deal for the player you were potentially trying to acquire around or after the NFL draft. Maybe even wait till the 101 or your pick is on the clock in rookie drafts. See what that deal looks like then, because I can almost guarantee you that trade will be available to you. What might shock you is more than likely you will have someone else come in out of nowhere and make a potential offer for that pick. It could be one that you would have never expected to be on the table, one that blows away your expectations, pretty much blows them out of the water completely. I've had that happen to me before. If you are in multiple leagues, like I mentioned, this is probably a really, really good experiment to do in just one of them. My overall message to you guys, though, is that regardless of how good a class is, there will always be a spike in value for rookie picks as we get around, the rookie draft time. As we get to the combine, we see just a giant spike in value for these picks because it's pretty much at an all-time high for the hype for these prospects. Everybody's going to be talking about them. Draft analysts, YouTube guys, all the best guys in the industry. If you have one or multiple draft picks, you hold all the leverage, and that gives you flexibility to, go several different directions with your dynasty teams. And I think that's the most important thing. Windows to buy low on players, competing assets, trading your pick for multiple draft picks, whatever it may be, those opportunities will come along. Those opportunities will be there. They will be at an all-time high. Hopefully, I helped give some people a different perspective on this class. I know it may not be generational, but it's full of a lot of really good players. I'm excited to really dive into it and show you guys kind of how they come out in my model and just what I think of them in general and where I think that they might be, placed in terms of, consensus rankings and, consensus value. Just remember though, guys, hold on to those picks. Don't just be giving them away. Don't be trying to shop them just because, and don't panic. So many things can change. We got a long way to go, and good things come to those who wait, ladies and gentlemen.